probably heard this story before. A book, self-published on Kindle, goes viral on TikTok and lands a six-figure traditional publishing deal. But today, we're going to dig much deeper than the headlines, because behind the Atlas 6 and its author Olivie Blake is a story about rejection, about fanfiction, about persistence, and about a very unique take on what it means to write for readers in today's publishing world. Hi everyone, if you're new to my channel, my name is Yoanna and I am a book coach and an editor who's worked on over 400 manuscripts. And today we're starting a new series called Case Studies for Authors, where we're going to look at a different author each time and their journey to publishing and to writing. Today we're talking about Olivie Blake, but before she was Olivie Blake, she was a law school dropout writing fanfiction at 2 a.m. under a random pseudonym she had pulled from a random name generator. She calls fanfiction her 10,000 hours because it wasn't just practice for writing, it was practice for writing for an audience and for a readership. She was actually learning, and that is learning in real time, how readers care about your characters, how communities interact with your story, and how any feedback, even the most brutal one, and she shares that she had some very interesting first reviews. Even the brutal one shapes you as a writer though. In fact, she shares that she wrote over 4 million words of fanfiction. And that is insane, that is incredible, and honestly, so admirable. I don't think I've done something like this. And that really matters, because unlike many of us authors who are building or honing our voice in silence, she was doing it in conversation with her readers. She was building an audience. And in many interviews that she does, she shares that this exact experience shaped how she writes to this day. Then she started breaking fanfiction rules, albeit they're loose ones, but she started breaking them and she started writing characters that readers don't necessarily want to see you play with when you're writing fanfiction. So she decided she was going to write her own stories so she could experiment and play with characters and stories and themes as much as she wanted. Actually, before the Atlas 6, she self-published 8 other books. Yes, 8 books. Most of them didn't blow up, but she was already learning. She was playing with her voice, she was playing with her writing, she was breaking the rules when they didn't fit her voice, and she was learning that she could build a readership and she could build a loyal one that could buy anything that she would release afterwards. In an interview on the podcast Libro FM, she even said, "I wasn't trying to make a living. I was writing manuscripts to query traditional publishing. All of it took a long time, but she kept going nonetheless." At the same time, she was starting to hear a lot of feedback that is familiar to authors of color, that publishers and agents couldn't relate to her characters. And as you can guess, that obviously left her questioning whether there would actually be a place for her voice in the traditional publishing market. And she even says in a lot of the interviews that she does that she was starting to think that this lightning may never strike for her, or it may never do so in a reasonable time. A good example of this is actually her first self-published book, which was Masters of Depth, which she wrote in 2017, and which she tried to query for traditional publishings, but she was hearing from agents the whole "no more vampires, we are sick of them, so please no books about vampires." And even after this whole experience, while she was starting to write the whole Atlas 6 series, she was thinking that perhaps there wouldn't be a fit for them in the traditional publishing world as well. And what she says is that when she started writing this trilogy, it was kind of like a last-ditch effort, because she felt like she was in her 30s, she wanted to have a child, she wanted to have a stable income, and although like traditional publishing was her dream, she felt like what was the point where she had to stop stumbling upon the market blindly. But by the time she published Atlas 6, the first one in the series in 2020, she already had so many years of practice, she had readers who trusted her, and even without her realizing it probably, she had the foundations ready for the viral moment that was going to strike very soon. And here is where it gets wild. She publishes the Atlas 6 in January 2020. And at first, it was nothing crazy, just, the regular sales here and there. Then, in May 2021, while she was literally in labor, giving birth to her son, her husband was on his phone and he noticed an Amazon spike in sales. Why? Well, it was TikTok. Readers were making aesthetic videos, character reviews, and were recommending the book to each other under the hashtag the Atlas 6, which now has, I think, over 17 million views or even more, if I'm right. And what is even more insane is that she didn't even know about it because she was not on TikTok, and someone messaged her on Twitter and was like, oh, by the way, your book is going viral. So talk about a very, very surreal moment. She says that is on the next day. So she gives birth, the next day she has her son on her chest. She's checking her messages on her phone and she sees this message on Twitter. Well, the virality changed everything. Her agent, Amelia Pell, already had her on board because of another book of hers, which is My Mechanical Romance, which is her YA rom-com that she wrote under her real name. But by now, this book was going very viral, the Atlas 6, so her agent told her to repackage it and to pitch it to publishers. What followed was a 7 houses auction, so 7 publishing houses fought over the rights for this book, which is honestly sounds like any author's dream. But Tor Books, which was one of the biggest names in publishing, is one of the biggest names in publishing, and Olivia's actual dream publisher is the one who won the rights at the end. What they did was they gave her a preempt deal that Olivia said immediate yes to. Well, what was the result? The result was a revised copy published by Tor in 2021, then another one in March 2022, many hardbacks, translations, and even a TV deal with Amazon Studios. And that was all because self-publishing, book talk, and most importantly, many years of practice collided in just the right moment. But here's what makes her story more interesting than just luck. Blake has opinions, and they're very strong ones. First, on writing. She says that she's not afraid of mixed reviews. She doesn't aim to create safe and universally liked stories. She is creating art that has the purpose to provoke our thinking and our feeling, and is staying true to her voice, not just trying to write for what would satisfy the market, what is currently trendy, or what would sell well. She's aware that the whole trilogy has some mixed reviews, and she's okay with this. She's not trying to be some content creator that satisfies everyone. She's trying to create art and staying true to her voice. Then on readers, she says that her background being in fanfiction makes her very aware that readers are a very essential part of the process of writing a book. She knows that once a story is out, it is for the readers. It is out there, it is theirs to interact with. And she's okay with this. She embraces it and she incorporates it when she's writing a story. And then her opinions on book talk, she loves the community and its power or its ability to reinvigorate young readers and especially women. But she's also frustrated with the whole idea of authors being labeled as book talk authors, as if they're less worthy or less good, and she says that this is not punishing her, it's punishing her readers. In one interview with The Observer, she shares that she hopes that as the power gets transferred back into the hands of the readers, that they use this power responsibly. And here I quote, "If all that book talk does is continue the tastes of the institutional gatekeepers, then that's not really great. If what book talk does is to promote the works of authors who might not otherwise succeed because there isn't space for them in the industry, then that's amazing. That's the innovation." And lastly, on publishing, as we've mentioned before, she's very candid on all of the challenges that the industry places upon writers of color. As we discussed, she wasn't really sure whether there would be a space for her in the traditional market because of the previous experience she has had. And she's very grateful for the success and the virality moment it unlocked, but it is also a very important reminder about how gatekept the industry is, which is something I discuss a lot and have very strong opinions about as well. So, what do we learn from Olivie Blake's story? First, fanfiction counts. Community writing can hone your skills just as much as any MFA. Also, nothing is wasted. This is something I hear sometimes when I work with authors, that when I give them a writing exercise, when we're practicing different things from the craft, I hear some of them say, oh, but it's not writing from actual like novel, so it's kind of, it doesn't count though. And I will admit, I had fallen into this trap as well early on in my writing journey, as I was thinking that if it wasn't towards my writing project at the moment, it was just wasted. I was wasting my time. But if we learn something from her story, is that nothing is wasted and everything is practice. Second lesson, self-publishing isn't failure or a less valuable option. It can actually be the testing ground that gets you ready for any other big steps that are coming. Third, virality isn't magic. It only works if there is a very good story behind it and a very, very disciplined writing habit. And the fourth or most important lesson from this is that publishing is a different journey for everyone. For Blake, it was years of practice, it was a one viral moment, but it was also a lot of failures, trying and staying true to herself. So, Olivie Blake's story is proof that no path towards publishing is linear or the same. From writing fanfiction at 2 a.m. to a TikTok viral phenomenon to Tor books and Amazon studios, honestly, it's non-linear, it's chaotic, it's messy, but it's so inspiring. So, if you like this case study, make sure to subscribe because I'll be covering a lot more authors to come. And also, let me know down in the comments whose story should I break down next. Yeah, thank you so much for watching and I hope to see you all next time. Have a smiley week. Bye! Third, virality... Blah. I did.